Welcome back to Doing Life Radio. I'm Sam.
And I'm Joyce. We're a married couple living in South Jersey, talking about all things life with a special focus on food, fitness, and faith.
Food, fitness, faith. Today, fat.
We're definitely talking about fat today, yes.
Not the kind of fat like, hey, I'm Fat Albert, but the kind of fat that makes you...
I mean, some people, I don't know. That's... No.
So we're getting back to our roots.
Yeah, so we are talking today about ketosis, the keto diet, being fat adapted, all things that I find so fascinating. I don't know about you. I hope you do too.
Shove it down your throat until you find it fascinating too.
Yeah, when we were done recording, I was like, man, that was short. Like, I don't know if we had enough to talk about. And Sam's like, you talked for almost an hour about this stuff. And I'm like, oh.
It's not quite that long, so don't be intimidated. Hey, we are on iTunes, Podomatic, Google Podcasts. We are on Spotify, all your places, and on YouTube. Like, to share, tell a friend, tell us how you like it.
Yeah.
Right, that'll work out good. And that's enough for us. So on with the Fat Adaptation episode. And I did lights, camera, action. I hit the record button.
So we're actually filming this episode?
we're actually filming this one. So any of our YouTubers who are
sorry about last week,
they will actually be able to see more than just the opening video.
Awesome.
For it. So yeah. And another thing, I completely forgot to put a hat on. So
that's okay. They're going to see your beautiful bald head, and they're going to love it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to take a break halfway through so I can put a hat on.
You can put a hat on when we record the intro. If you want.
If I want to. Well, that's a little bit inside information. So, what are we talking about today?
So today, we're kind of going back to basics because we do mostly talk about, like our fitness journey, our health journey,
right.
But we've kind of strayed from that.
Occasionally we throw life in there.
Yeah, so we had the kids on and we talked about back to school. So I thought we need to kind of bring it back to our roots and start talking about getting a little more serious because it's September.
It is September.
And people tend to kind of reset in September.
Right. It's like we talked about before, it's the new year. So back to schedule, everything's rolling out. We're definitely kind of hitting the hard reset button.
Yes.
We're done with trips down to the shore and Core Brothers. And we got some pretty, I'm trying to get back into working out more, running more. All the 5Ks are coming up.
That being said, this was the best summer we had as far as not completely derailing ourselves. Even last summer, we had already started down our fitness journey, but we did really detour when we hit the boardwalk and made some, I don't know if I want to say bad choices because,
we still were better than.
Yeah.
Last summer was, the guiding principle I think for us last summer was good, better, best. And that was kind of where we went. And so we strived for
we were like, well, it's better to splurge when you're at the boardwalk, but not, all the time. Right.
And I think now we're leaning towards what is best practice. Like we're really pushing more best practice, especially in the house. We're doing, it's hard for me to find junk food in this house, even for the boys.
Yep.
So if I was jonesing for that, it's hard for me to get around to that. I had a conversation today.
Now we have keto junk food, but fun fact, if you overeat keto junk food, you will have gas.
Yeah, that's kind of
bad.
Where it's at.
There is no way you want to eat too much keto junk food.
And it doesn't have to be just in one sitting. It's like in one day. Like it'll catch up to you.
It'll get you.
It will get you. So I was having a conversation today and, telling someone about the journey, like the health journey, walking through, because they had just... a friend of mine just started picking up on keto.
Oh.
And so he's asking some questions, and naturally I said, I don't know. You have to ask my wife.
Oh my gosh, babe. You should know these things by now.
I do know more than I let on. But then but it caused me to think through like the walk. And I think it's really important that we need to kind of go back to the starting point and what kind of led us up there. So it was nice for me to be able to kind of go through the walk and think through, like when we talk about food and right now, like cravings and stuff like that, the things that used to run my whole life, like what I used to love to do. Like I couldn't tell you the countless trips to Wawa to pick up like a Pepsi or a Mountain Dew.
Oh yeah, we never go into Wawa anymore.
I can't. I mean, no, I can't. I honestly can't remember the last time I went into a Wawa.
Yeah.
Short of buying gas.
Although I was never really a big Wawa, that wasn't my thing.
Yeah, even coffee now we've kind of switched over to like Dunkin'
I think they
Donuts.
all know we love Dunkin' Donuts.
That's our jam. And now we're getting into,
Our jam.
once the weather starts to cool off, we'll have more hot coffee at home. Like right now,
Yeah,
like
we need to start just making our own coffee at home.
I'm all
It's
into
time to do that.
iced coffee. So what are we talking about? So we're getting back to the basics. We kind of
Yeah,
got
so
on and on.
I want to talk a little bit about ketosis, and I want to talk a little bit about fat adaptation.
Fat adaptation.
Yeah.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, right.
Fat adaptation. Fat adaptation. Fat
So I started seeing this becoming more of a hot topic. Now, I have learned that when I think something's a hot topic, it's maybe not. It's maybe only on my newsfeed
your
because
own
I
little rabbit
follow
hole.
really bizarre people on social media.
You do follow the extreme dieters.
I
and
follow the
extreme
really
things.
extreme people who are really into like biohacking and super extreme dieting, and I don't know. I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
I find even at work when I'm talking with clients, my conversations tend to be like, "Well, what do you eat for breakfast?" Interesting. Tell me about your lunch. Like I just love talking about
Like
what people
the clients
eat.
are asking you, or you're asking the clients.
Well, they'll kind of both
Okay.
ways because people now know that I'm keto. Actually, I had a woman today. She wasn't my client. She was someone else's, but she listens to the podcast. And she was,
What? You're saying someone out there, not directly associated with us, listens to this podcast?
well, I've known her for probably close to 20 years. I just
Oh.
don't do her hair. My girlfriend does her hair.
Thank you.
But so she was asking some questions, and then before we knew it, the whole color room was like sharing what we eat for meals. And yeah, I don't know. I find it very interesting. But anyway, so keto definitely took off as like this major fad diet, right?
Fad?
Well, to some people it was a fad. They
Right.
did it for 30 days.
It's-
It didn't
right
work
now
for
they
me,
call
or
it- right,
whatever.
right. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
a hot diet right
It is
now.
a hot diet now, yes.
Whether people
understand
know,
it.
well, whether they understand it or not, they surely think they do.
Right, they know about it. And I am
Yeah.
finding more and more people in my circle, and I don't walk around in quote unquote healthy circles, you know what I mean?
Right.
More and more people, like, again, like today I ran into a buddy. He said he's been doing keto for like a month.
It's
and I'm
becoming a thing.
like, yeah, it's
yeah.
becoming more popular. And
So when something becomes very popular, people want to do something different,
right.
like I guess the next level.
Okay.
So I think that's why I'm seeing the term fat adaptation all around. And I'm like, well, isn't that just a state of ketosis? Like really what's happening here? So as I do, I dive down my rabbit hole of YouTube and Instagram and all the places that I get information. Probably not the best places to get information.
Oh, if it's online, it's got to be
But
true.
it's got to be true. No, I do follow lots of doctors. So I guess I would assume they're telling me the truth on most things.
Are they trying to sell anything, or are they just sharing?
There is a doctor who sells his products, but not all of them do.
Okay.
No.
Because that tends to be a line there. If they're trying to sell something, they'll tell you a lot of different things. But if they're not really
Sure.
trying to sell,
Yeah. So I thought we'd start by just really getting into the ketosis part first, because
Okay.
most people know what keto is. It's a high fat diet, very, very low carb, and the goal is to be in ketosis, right? I think that's a general
and ketosis
consensus.
is.
So ketosis is where the body.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
I try to explain everything to you like you're 5. Because I love you.
Because you love me. Yeah,
And I want you to understand.
It sounded just like that.
So ketosis is when the body will burn fat for fuel.
Gotcha.
And it will make ketones. And those ketones they'll burn for fuel. So that's kind of the goal when people are like, oh, I'm doing keto, is they want to start making these ketones. Now, companies have figured this out, and now you can buy ketones.
Is that powder that we?
Yes, we
Okay.
have actually done this. We purchased ketones mostly out of curiosity.
Yep.
I understood when I bought it that I wasn't needing to buy ketones, and I'll get to that in a minute. But there were a lot of other reasons people take ketones, like heightened awareness, like mental clarity, just sharpness in general, aside from this will put you into ketosis.
Gotcha.
So I was curious about it, and we purchased some, and it was delicious.
Oh yeah, there was a chocolate flavor, right?
Yes, we put it in our coffee,
Yeah.
and I will say it's really good. We got ours from Perfect Keto, and we got the chocolate flavor. And yeah, it's really yummy. I also got the chocolate flavor of their MCT oil powder. That one doesn't rock my world quite as much, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so let me try to explain this to you like you're a 5-year-old.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
So on the average standard American diet, we are burning carbs or sugar or glucose for fuel. That's how the body runs.
Okay.
That's actually how the body prefers to run. I guess it's the easiest way for the body to run. So if the body has a choice, it's always going to go for the sugar, for the glucose, for the carbohydrates.
Okay.
So that's kind of where most of us who live in the United States, how our bodies function.
Right.
And I say that because in the United States, our food
That's our diet.
pyramid consists of mostly carbohydrates. So if you're
Gotcha.
eating according to the food pyramid, you're eating mostly carbs.
Food pyramid. I wonder if they're even teaching that in school anymore. I highly
Oh, I
doubt that.
hope not, because
What was that
nonsense.
teeny tiny bit on the top? Was that like a donut at the top of the pyramid?
no, I think that's where the fruits and veggies were.
What?
Or maybe the dairy. I don't know. But I know carbs were at the bottom. So anyway, so most people are burning glucose for their fuel, and you want to be burning fat for your fuel.
Gotcha.
Now, why would you want to be burning fat for your fuel?
Because then it will make you better.
Why?
Because you get into ketosis and you get fat adaptated and it'll make you skinnier.
Thank you. This is what people want. They want to be skinnier.
They want
So
that extra fat in their body to be used for something.
well, they want it to just go
I
away.
kind of think of it as like a pile of firewood. And so you want to actually be using
wanna
that firewood
set it on fire.
to get the fire going. So that's
Right.
kind of what you're doing. Your fat cells are firewood that you want to burn.
Okay. So once you're in ketosis, your body will switch from burning your carbs to burning fat. But here's the caveat. It doesn't have to be the fat in your body. So a lot of people,
Okay.
when they're switching over to keto, they're eating so much fat. You know, it is a high fat diet, but they're putting like butter in their coffee, and they're like, I haven't hit my fat goal for the day. Let me eat, 4 fat bombs before I go to bed.
Almost overdoing it.
Yes. And in the beginning, I do advocate for it a little bit because it does help ease your body into ketosis. But you don't want to be in ketosis simply because you're eating so much fat or because you're taking ketones. You want your body to make the ketones, and you want your stored fat to be the fuel. But you do have to sort of get your body there.
So in the beginning, essentially, you're instead of taking in carbs, you're taking in fat. Is
Right.
that
If you are taking in carbs, you will never get into ketosis, nor will you ever be fat adaptive.
So-
you have to eliminate the carbs.
when they're talking about taking all these fat bombs and everything like that, they're talking about going to the extreme to kind of
Yes.
lock that all in.
Yes. So you can be in ketosis and be eating a very poor diet. You could be overdoing the fat, and you could literally take enough ketones that you put your body into ketosis. Now
Okay.
here's the thing. Your body has to use the ketones for fuel before it can use the fat for fuel. So if you're taking so many ketones, your body has to use that energy up first before it can tap into the fat storage.
Right.
So I don't advocate taking ketones, although it does give you a burst of energy. It does give you like those mental, if you're taking it for those mental benefits, great, but a small amount. Like I think a serving size is 1 scoop, and we use maybe a quarter scoop in our
Maybe,
coffee,
yeah.
and it makes it,
plenty.
I will tell you, it's because it's so delicious that we use it, and there's no sugar in it or anything.
Yeah,
There's no negative ingredients in it. Ketones aren't a bad thing to take, but we want our bodies to create the ketones. You don't need to be ingesting ketones. Now, if you have like seizures or some sort of brain function issues,
Okay.
that might be a different story. That might be a case where the doctor says, eat as much fat, good, healthy fat as you can, and go ahead and take some ketones because you're wanting to feed the brain those things. But if you're not dealing with any sort of an issue like that, and you're just trying to get healthy and or lose weight, you don't need to take ketones, in my opinion. There are plenty of people on social media who would disagree with me, but they're probably selling ketones.
So in your not so expert opinion,
Yeah.
chillax on the ketones.
Chillax on the ketones. That being said, I do occasionally take ketones.
It's been a long time because we haven't
We
we don't
haven't
put
made
it.
our coffee at home in a while because we've been really lazy about that.
Well, that yeah, and we're not hot coffee and stuff like that, and
Well,
so
I
it
drink
doesn't.
hot coffee year round. I don't care how hot it is outside, but he only drinks iced coffee in the summer.
Yeah.
So we tend to hit Dunkin' up in the summer.
And they know me not by name but by face.
No, they know your name. You come in and you say mobile order for Sam. I'm sure
Oh
they've
yeah, yeah.
figured out who you are by now.
Well, then they're not properly greeting me. I need to get some more respect here. I am
Yeah.
spending my hard-earned cash at their establishment.
Okay. So anyway,
I did try putting ketones in my iced coffee once.
how was it?
It was terrible because it's powder. It
It
doesn't really
didn't like
dissolve.
disintegrate,
Yeah, so it was
dissolve.
clumpy and
That's
stuff
probably
like
the
that.
better word.
So flavor, it just didn't work.
You could have blended it.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean blended?
Put it in a blender.
I put it in
Yeah.
and
Mixed it.
I stirred it, and then this
Okay.
is a secret. I think people need to know this. So I think you should write this down.
Okay.
I have discovered that one of the greatest ways to mix something in the beverage that you currently have is to blow bubbles through the straw.
I've never heard that before.
Never?
Never. I'm serious. I've never heard that before.
Life hack. So
Is that a true thing or did you make that up?
no, that is what I do. This is an actual thing that I do. If there's something in my drink and I need it to mix up a little bit more and I have a straw, blow on bubbles, mixes it all up. Think about it. I mean, if all the stuff is down at the bottom, you blow the bubbles go to the top. It takes the stuff from the bottom to the top, and then it gently mixes it all in. So who needs a blender? Just blow bubbles.
It didn't work though.
Not with the ketones. It didn't.
Life hack debunked right
But I
here.
don't understand how like a powder. It's a powder, right?
Yeah.
How is putting it in a blender going to make any difference as opposed to like just
After the show, I'm going to show you how a blender works.
oh, stay tuned. We may have to. I'm going to show you how a blender works. Talk to me like I'm 5.
You asked for it.
I'm going to show you how a blender works. I know how it works. You push a button, it goes.
All right. Can we get back to the show?
We can get back to the show.
Okay. Okay. So if you want to be fat,
Fat. If you want to be fat,
adapted,
I can teach that podcast.
you first need to get your body to a state of ketosis where
Okay.
you want to start transitioning your body from burning carbs to burning fat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference between when you're fat adapted is your body is solely using fat for its energy. And
Right.
that's where it's really tapping into your stored body fat. So you don't have to constantly be feeding yourself fat. And I think that's where a lot of people who do keto really miss the mark is they start with this very high fat, low carb diet. They lose a lot of weight and then they're stuck and their macros never change.
Because they're still running the high fat
Right.
in there, and they're not allowing their body to switch over to their
Exactly.
instead
So you
of
want to
the
continue
stored
with
fat.
the low carb, really low carb. But you don't want to continue with the high fat. And I even made that mistake for a while there. I was using heavy whipping cream for everything. It was my favorite ingredient. We went through it like crazy
Did you know
in
if
this
you put
house.
that in a blender, it turns into like whipped cream?
I used to do that almost every night for dessert. But then we got to a standstill and I realized I'm really overdoing the fat and I was not having enough protein. So once I got to a place where I was probably in ketosis, I was definitely burning fat for energy. That's when you want to start to kind of ease up on the amount of fat you're eating. I wouldn't say just cut it in half. I would just say start to ease up, kind of come back a little bit on the fat and maybe increase on the protein a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fat adaptation is really where it's at because you don't need to be worrying about ketones or anything. Like all that's pretty much done. Speaking of ketones, hold on, let me pause.
Yes. You're taking the road less traveled. Let's go.
People are always measuring their ketones and it makes me crazy.
Okay, so let's talk about how do you measure your ketones?
So there's two ways.
Yep.
The best way would be a blood test, but most people aren't doing that because it's expensive. You can do it at home. You can get kits where you just kind of do a little prick, but they're a little pricey, and that's not how most people are doing it. Most people are doing the urine strips.
Peeing on something.
Yes.
Ooh. No, thank you.
And here's the problem with the urine strips. All it's measuring is what you're excreting. That's it. So let's say you start your keto diet. about a week in, you're like, all right, I'm eating all this fat and I'm not touching carbs. I must be in ketosis. So you measure it and you're like, whoo, I am way in ketosis, super duper in ketosis. But really what's happening, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Uh-oh. Cover your ears if you don't want to hear this.
What's really happening is your body hasn't figured out how to use those ketones yet. It's making them. It just doesn't know what to do with them because it's so used to burning carbs.
So it's like, oh.
So it's just passing them through.
We'll ship these right on out.
But it's making your little stick that you peed on look fantastic, like you are way in ketosis. But then what happens is, you continue, weeks and weeks go by, and you really are in ketosis. Your body's using those ketones.
I see what's going on
it's
here.
not excreting them anymore, and you're reading that you're not in ketosis. And you're like, why am I not in ketosis? I'm doing everything right. And the fact is, yeah, you probably are doing everything right. So your body is using those ketones for fuel. It's not excreting them anymore.
That makes total sense when you say it like that.
So I never ever check my ketones ever.
Good to know you're not peeing on things.
No, I'm not. I've toyed around with getting the blood test, but again, I think I would prefer to measure how I feel, how I look in my clothes, the number I see on the scale, than measure a number in my blood that could be maybe not so accurate.
Right, I hear you. Yeah, I guess.
And then it's going to stress me out. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, you would definitely be like, oh, my number needs to be at a 5 and I'm at a 7. What's going on?
Right, and it really all depends on what's happening in your body. Like some people are like, oh, don't measure, don't do that blood test until like 1 hour after you've eaten, or do it after, do a 12-hour fast.
Right.
So
that's the thing. There's so many variables. In every aspect of testing like that. So yeah, I mean, it kind of goes on. Now, can you feel like you're in ketosis? I mean, or you just kind of...
Yeah, so when your body is switching from burning carbs to burning to burning fat for fuel, a lot of people experience something called the keto flu. I know you've heard of the keto flu.
I've heard of it. I don't feel like I've experienced it.
I don't think either of us experienced it. But I've seen people experience it hard.
Really?
So it's really your body is getting all of these ketones, but it hasn't really figured out what to do with them. It's making them, but it's not really using them yet. And it wants to burn the carbs, but you're not giving the body carbs. And it's kind of like fighting with itself, right? It's not, you're changing its fuel source, and the body doesn't want to change its fuel source.
After a lifetime of establishment, right?
Right. So you do feel pretty miserable during that time, but it doesn't take long. I don't know that anybody's experienced the keto flu longer than a week. I mean, if you continue with it, it's your body's eventually going to have to use fuel for something. So the problem is your body's not really fueling itself with anything. So you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I'm so hungry, I'm so miserable, I'm so cranky. But then after a while, your body's like, you know what? I'm going to use these ketones. That's how we're going to get fuel. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I'm a new person. I feel great.
It's like the little engine that could. You're just struggling to get up to the top of the hill. Just
can't.
Keep pushing.
You have to keep fighting, because if you at night are like, oh, this is miserable, let me have, like a piece of toast or something, and you do that every night,
reset.
You will always be in that miserable keto flu state.
You'll never get to the top of the hill.
Yeah. So at least for a little while, you want to cut your carbs low enough that you can become in ketosis.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to be fat adapted, because once you're fat adapted, you can go back and forth pretty seamlessly. So if you've been in ketosis for, say, 6 months, a good amount of time, and you go and you have, you go to Sakura and you have all this rice and vegetables, and you really, you've got some carbs. Your body at that point should be able to go ahead and burn carbs and then right back to burning fat. And then if you have a cheat meal later, you should be able to seamlessly let your body use carbs
thank you very much
fat
for this fuel. Change. So your body's appreciative of the diet too. Like, oh, thank you. I wanted some of that fried rice.
Well, you will do better burning fat. But you should, if you've been in ketosis for a short amount of time, like I said, you could be in ketosis and not be burning your own body fat at all. You could be just burning ketones that you fed yourself or fat that you fed yourself. So being in ketosis isn't necessarily this phenomenal weight loss thing.
Right.
If you're just feeding yourself the ketones.
Right.
But once you're fat adapted, you can be able to go in and out of how your body gets its energy. fat being the primary way and the preferred way after a while. And then if you do have a cheat meal, your body's like, okay, we're going to burn these carbs, and then we'll go right back to burning.
Let's get these things out of the way and get back to what we're accustomed
And that's when you're really functioning at a higher level.
So, I mean, it's so hard because I'm guessing every single person is completely different.
Yes.
Like when you reach that certain point, and it's not like a light bulb goes off or you get an email from your body saying, "Dearest Samuel, we have noticed that you have reached a certain point where we are now
We are crowning you fat adapted.
We are crowning you. All you have to do, hit this link and send us 300. No.
Yeah.
So
to be fat adapted, you need to be extremely low carb for at least 30 days, but even up to 12 weeks, it'll take some people.
So, but there's nothing to say. You know what I mean? There's no clear sign. You're just kind of...
So, well, there's a couple of signs that you're fat adapted.
I'm sure if you go off it, there'd be a sign that would say, oh, I was fat adapted.
Well, if you're really fat adapted you'll be fine to have a cheat day here or there, and boom, you'll go right back.
Right. Can you have a cheat week?
I don't think so. Okay, but here are some signs to know that you are fat adapted. You should notice an increase in energy.
Okay.
Okay. Your sleep should improve. Usually people who are sugar burners or your body uses carbs for energy, they tend to struggle with sleep more so than somebody who uses fat for energy.
Oh, I'll raise my hand right there because I can already tell you, like, my life on a good keto diet.
Yeah.
I sleep so much better.
Yes, Sam
than especially before.
would very frequently, like almost every night, take a sleeping pill, which really like made my blood boil.
Oh, you can't stand medication of any sort. Like
I'm like,
don't
this
anything.
is a normal bodily function. You should not need medication to go to sleep.
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't so much to go to sleep.
It was to stay asleep.
It was to stay asleep.
I know, because we had this argument often where I'd be like, you shouldn't be taking that. Something is wrong.
And it could very well have been the diet. Like my body wasn't. And I'm.
And you're a late night snacker, so you're eating all those
used
carbs
to do that,
before bed.
Yep. And I'm a thinker. Like mentally, my mind just like if I have a project or something going on.
You just asked me to explain ketosis like you're a 5-year-old, and then you announced to our listeners that you're a thinker.
I didn't say what I was thinking about. Like how did they get those blocks to stand right on top of each other, the little pegs and everything? It looks so good. So yeah, I mean I can attest to that. Like my sleeping
Your
habits,
sleep has gotten much, much better. Now it's very rare that you take a sleeping pill.
Right, and we're going to bed so much earlier now too.
Well, we're exhausted.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We send the kids to bed early, not so we can spend time together, but so that we can go to bed too and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
It's time for bed, kids.
Right.
Everyone's
we
going
can't
to bed.
keep our eyes open. Go to bed. So another sign would be that your carb cravings are basically gone. If you're truly fat adapted, you shouldn't be still struggling with carb cravings. Now, you can be in ketosis and still struggle with carb cravings.
What is carb cravings? Like, how would you just define that? Like see a donut, want a donut?
I guess it's more of a craving like, oh, I wish I had a bagel, like.
Right. Some kind of like I need some of that solid bread or pasta or something like that. Like,
and I don't really get cravings, and if I do, it's definitely for sweets.
Oh yeah, that's your hot spot. What do they call it? Your sweet spot?
If I'm gonna cheat, it's gonna be on a dessert, and it's gonna be on a good dessert, not like a packaged dessert from like the supermarket or something. I want it to be worth my while. I want it to be like high-end restaurant dessert.
Oh yeah, creme brulee.
Creme brulee would be the top choice.
That is definitely. I know your weakness.
Yeah.
On that end, and down the shore, it's Core Brothers.
And it is true that when you indulge in that, you want it more than if you totally abstain.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at. Like we go places and people have cake and cookies, and I'm at the church all the time. Someone's always bringing in sweets. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, I don't even want to go down. I don't want one.
Because one leads to several.
They tell me all the time, oh, it's not going to break your diet. You'll be fine. You can have just one.
How do they know it's going to break your diet?
Yeah. How do you know it's not like so? And
Sabotagers.
Saboteur. So I politely decline. And then I get peer pressure. Like they say, oh, you can have it. It's so good. Don't
tell them my wife said no.
Well, I would say, don't let my wife find out. And I have 12 cookies. But
you better not.
No, I don't. But then there's comes that in that too is I never wanted to be that guy. Like when it talks about diets, oh, I can't have it.
Well,
it
it's not that you
can't.
what this list is saying is you don't really want it.
Right. Well, that's exactly it too. I've gotten to that point now where I don't want it. I don't
Yeah.
want what it does to me. Like especially the summer experience that we had. Like I legitimately, when we went down and we'd had like the snacks or pizza, like it was one day I had pizza and Core Brothers. Like it just, I felt like the next day I felt like I took a hit. Like I
Yeah.
was like, man, that really is something. So, yeah, I don't want to go down that road. I don't have a desire for it, but yeah, I don't. It's, it's when we talk about carbs, like it's like this object like sitting out there. We could just like grab it
Yeah.
and do it.
What do you picture when I say carbs?
Pizza.
Oh, I picture bagels.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, like to me, a carb is a bagel. I don't know why. That's what I picture in my
I think
head.
pizza for some
Big
reason.
old, like, from New York deli kind of
Oh,
bagel.
you're going like really high
Like a
end.
real bagel.
Not me. I'm dirty shore pizza. I'm
All
all in
right.
on that. That's what I'm seeing that big old thing of grease and the crust hanging around. That's
What do you picture when I say fat?
I'm picturing the end of a steak, like what's
Oh, okay.
on a
Like
steak. Literal
fat.
fat, like
Okay.
literal fat, like
I always think butter, like a stick of butter.
just like straight up
Just
butter. What are
butter.
some other heavy fat things that we could picture? So I picture literal fat,
Heavy cream,
heavy cream, butter,
ghee,
ghee. So you're going some
MCT oil,
weird things. I'm trying to think of like
avocado
actual foods.
oil.
There we go. Avocado is super for being the good fat.
Yeah, coconut.
I don't like coconut at all.
Love
The
coconut.
coconut is good fat.
Yeah. Yes, coconut oil, everyone in the world
Yeah, I guess you're
agrees
right.
is a
Yeah.
fantastic thing. And even the vegans like coconut oil. We all are on the same page with the coconut oil, babe. Get on the page.
Even the vegans,
I'm just saying because we're vastly different
like
in our
like
diet
a vegan
choice.
isn't. I'm all good, but once you there's too much hair in that coconut, it's got to be a mammal. Don't eat that. Don't eat that coconut.
Okay.
Even the vegans agree.
Even the vegans. All right.
Oh.
Shall I continue down my
Sorry
list?
if we offended any vegans out there.
What? I said they like coconut oil.
But you said
They do.
even the vegans. Like we're categorizing them. Okay, let's keep going down our list.
Okay.
So I picture actual fat. You picture butter.
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 Okay. Better physical endurance.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Because I'm trying
It's
to think.
hard to say because
It's hard to
we
quantify
didn't,
that.
well, at least I didn't start really working out until I started really cutting carbs. So
You didn't have a before.
I
is what
didn't
you're
have
saying.
a before,
Yeah, and I didn't really have it before either.
but I have muscles now. I'm not going to
Whoa.
flex because I would be embarrassed, but I've got muscles
Like
now.
that shirt used to have sleeves before we came down. So
It just ripped right off.
boom, just sun's out, guns out. No, I mean that's I don't. I guess we work out so much now. Like I know I couldn't do now what I.
Right. But who's to say if that's just endurance from continually working out or if it's because of the diet? But the list says you will have better physical endurance.
If Google says it, it must be true.
Must be true. Okay, and then probably an obvious one is less hunger. You should be able to go hours and hours between meals without being hungry. Now I know you
Yeah,
don't
I can
really
easily
eat
do that.
till like much later in the day. Like he'll have coffee, and that's pretty much it till close to dinner. You might have a bar here and there.
Right. Yeah. I just kind of once I get moving or invested in something,
Yeah.
that's how I just keep rolling, and I don't feel the need for it. Even coming out of the gym, I don't feel the need for food. Like if you offer to make breakfast and I haven't.
Yeah, a
gotten
lot
a-
of times I make a hot breakfast, so then you'll be like, if you're making it, I'll
Yeah,
have,
I'll have
you know.
it, but it's not the end all be all. Coffee's my breakfast, and
Yeah.
maybe a bar for lunch. I'm not really
Now,
going too far off.
but when
dinner,
you do
I
eat, you
I
eat a meal, and then you tend to have like meat and cheese at night or some sort of
But
nighttime.
I'm trying to get better at that and pull that back a bit. But
Well, I'm not saying it as a negative. Most people who are fat adapted will take 2 large meals or 1 very large meal a day, and that's it. Like so, they're really stretching out the time where they're fasting,
gotcha.
but they're not necessarily cutting calories. They're having like these huge steak dinners and you know things like that. So that's more so I think what you do. You have a big dinner, and then you tend to like kind of continue eating through
Right.
the evening hours, but then you're fasting for a significant period of
I
time
have
between.
noticed, especially recently since school started, I have a lot more fasting. Like my
Yes.
time extended is fasting. Of course, our gym times are all messed up now too because
We
like
still haven't gotten it
our
together.
morning
If
schedule.
you are this far into September and you've got it together schedule wise, kudos to you. We are
Gold star.
still figuring it out.
Yeah, well, we're still. Well, you missed a couple days in there too, so that kind of
Yes. I
Through
had to go
you had to
away
go for
right
a
at the
training.
beginning of school year, and the kids are in different schools, and
Yeah, it just so we're still
yeah.
trying to sort out that schedule. So what it's doing is delaying the time I'm getting to the gym. I don't want to eat or have my coffee before I go to the gym.
No. Well,
So then I'm drinking way more water earlier in the morning,
yeah.
finishing my big old thing, and then I'm getting after that. Then I have my coffee. So I'm having my coffee later. So I'm getting probably 14 hours almost every day so far,
Yeah.
not
You
by
know, it's funny.
choice.
I actually just thought of this. You know how they say that coffee's an appetite suppressant?
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so. We'll have to Google that after the show. But no, I
I don't
think
know.
that's a thing.
Okay.
And I never really felt that way because I was always hungry. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like, wow, coffee can hold me over a long time
Maybe,
now.
maybe that is the trick right there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's going on. I know coffee is the anti-suppressant for bowels.
You mean it makes you go potty?
Yeah, I was trying to say it in a more delicate fashion,
Okay.
more highbrow than you with your dirty talk.
All right. Well then.
What else is on the list?
That is the end of the list. So
Okay, so
increased
read them through
energy.
it.
Okay. Increased energy,
Check,
sleep improves,
check.
carb cravings basically go away,
Still trying to figure that one out.
better physical endurance,
Check.
and less hunger.
Yeah, I definitely see it. Like you're starting to get to that point, but again, it's really hard to kind of tell, like, without a constant check. I'm sure these people that we see on Instagram and Facebook, which of course we
I
always see
would
their
say
perfect version of
we are
themselves.
both definitely having less carb cravings because when our kids have company, we order them pizza
I
and we
don't
never
even.
touch it.
No, I don't
And
want
it's
it.
not like, I mean, are you like, oh, I want that pizza? Yeah,
No,
me
not at
either.
all.
Because typically we will feed the kids pizza. Hey, enjoy your dinner. Okay, go down and play video games. And then as soon as they go down the steps, I mean, as soon as that door closes, we are cooking up some high end steaks.
We've done
We're
that
like,
before.
bye, guys.
Go ahead, have fun playing your video games. No,
Yeah.
don't come up. Stay up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that
So,
before.
and I definitely years ago would have taken pizza to a steak, but now, no way.
Oh yeah, no, steak is
Never.
all in. The other night, when everyone was out, it was just me and Javen in the house, and we're coming back through and passing by
The butcher shop.
the butcher shop, and I was like, you know what? Javen, do you want a small steak to go with your mac and cheese cup? He said, yeah. So I said, all right. So I grabbed a couple steaks for us that night.
Yeah.
I had only steak that night. Shout out to the carnivore diet. And
Yeah.
so I had only steak that night, and he had mac and cheese cup and a little steak, and I was totally happy. Any other night, I would have
Yeah.
been like, hey, let's go to Chick-fil-A or let's go, but I was just jonesing
Yeah.
for that.
And years ago, you would have had to have a side with that steak.
Mash or baked potato.
Yeah. Or mashed potatoes. We used
no,
to make
but-
both.
Yeah, but the meal I used to love is potato, like baked potato,
Mm-hmm.
real soft butter, sour cream, cheese, bacon bits,
Totally
and some
loaded baked potato.
seasoned salt on it or something like that. Oh man, even now I'm like, oh, I can feel my mouth water for, like that is something I would like to have,
I
but
don't miss a baked potato at all.
I honestly, like, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, man, I don't miss any potato product at all. I mean, I stole a fry from Javen the other night. I was like, and that was it. One fry and I was done.
Yeah. Yeah. Occasionally we'll steal fries from our kids. Or once in a while we'll order sweet potato fries with our meal. I don't know if that's really any better, but they are yummy.
They are good.
But that's such a rarity.
Yeah. No, it's funny how the cravings kind of go down, and when you reach a certain point in life and stuff like that, you start like, the one thing that's stuck in my head is potato bad, corn bad.
Really bad.
So like that is like, how many corn on the cob did you have this summer?
Zero.
None.
Absolutely
I had none
none.
either.
I've had no corn at all.
None whatsoever.
And we used to have corn on the cob all the time with
The
dinner.
closest we had is cornbread at that place at the
Oh, at the amusement park, we went to this
Yeah.
barbecue joint, which was really good. I couldn't
shocking.
believe.
It was
For-
really good for an amusement park.
Yeah, it was good. So they had cornbread, and we did definitely eat the cornbread. If you're going to go to
Yeah,
a
we're
barbecue
not-
joint, you're going to have
not
cornbread.
barbarians.
Yeah, we're not monsters.
So that's a big difference this summer. I was just thinking too, like even last summer we had lots of corn
Yeah,
on
we
the
don't
cob.
eat corn.
Do
But
that.
even like years ago, we would have ordered extra cornbread. Like, let's get our meal and can we get a couple extra of those
Yeah.
cornbread?
Yeah.
But now we're like, this was a nice treat just with the one that they gave us, you know?
And it takes time to kind of build that up. I think a lot of
Yes.
people are like, "Oh, I can never see myself doing that." I have all these cravings and stuff and you will.
And that is why when you start the keto diet, you go pretty heavy with the fat because
Gotcha.
it will keep you very satiated. It will keep you
Satiated.
so you're not hungry, like full.
Right. That I don't satiated?
Is that not a thing?
I have no idea. Like it's new. I'm saying that's a great word to use. I have
It
no
will
idea
keep
what it
you
means.
satisfied.
There you go.
So you're not so hungry, so you don't get those cravings. Making fat bombs. So in the evening when you're used to what fat bombs are delicious.
I know, but I don't know why. It's just a giggle. Like I think because in our house, when with two boys, when you drop a bomb,
It's not a good thing.
right? It's not
Yeah.
dropping.
But making fat bombs is a really great way to start your body down, switching from being a carb burner to being a fat burner. Basically, you are giving your body the fat for it to start to burn. But eventually, your body's going to figure out that this is my new fuel source and it will tap into your stored body fat. And that's where it's at when you're trying to lose weight, is to get rid of that stored body fat.
Right. So it's like you're gonna go through this phase where you feel like nothing's happening. What do they call it? Like
I will say it happens quickly with keto. Keto's probably the diet where you notice rapid weight loss the quickest, even though you're shoving all that fat in your mouth. I mean, it's crazy.
it's so bizarre to think through even now when we're sitting around and we're eating and we're picking out, like we go to the butcher and we try to pick out the steaks.
Yeah, even when we go out to
Like, give me
eat,
that one with all that white stuff
we were
on it.
when we were at that one restaurant with the cornbread, and we got, what did we get? Beef brisket.
Brisket. Yep.
I'm like, can you like pick out the fattiest pieces? And she just kind of looked
She's
at me and she's like, sure. I think I even got extra because she was like, let's get rid of all
No
the
one else
fatty
wants it.
pieces.
I know because I went up and I said,
everyone wants the lean
can
pieces.
I also have the fatty pieces that she didn't have? And she just looked at me. She's like,
We'll see if there's any left.
that skinny girl got them all. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, great.
Yeah, I do think fat does not make you fat. Fat will make you slim. And even if you continue having a significant amount of fat, you're probably not going to gain weight as if you were eating carbs. So if that's what you need to do for your crutch, go for it. But my advice is slowly start to wean off the high fat things
Okay.
and bring in some protein. Now, I'm toying around, just me personally, I'm not speaking for the whole keto world. So
Hold up.
keto
Hold
people
up.
don't,
This is
yeah.
just
I'm
choices.
trying to go slightly more carnivore.
Right.
So much higher in the protein than the 20% macro allowance. And
Which, if anyone is asking carnivore, what's carnivore diet? We actually talked about it
we
a couple
did it.
months back.
Yeah, we did an
A whole
episode on it. If you want to go back and check that out.
This is proof that Google is listening to us all the time. Google probably listens to our podcast because before that, I had never seen anything carnivore in my life on social media whatsoever. Now I see it frequently.
Yeah. So a 30-second nutshell version, carnivore basically only eats
Meat.
animal products only. Mostly meat, mostly beef.
This
Chicken is
again-
considered the salad of the carnivore world. It's not really that big of a
Weak
thing.
sauce if you just
Yeah.
do the chicken.
So mostly meat, mostly beef. They will have eggs and they will have some dairy because that's a byproduct of animal. But that's not like they're not eating like a stick of cheese. They might be putting butter on their steak or
Right,
something
that's-
along those lines.
I always keep forgetting to put butter on the steak, like, because that's one of the secrets they do at most restaurants.
I
and stuff.
always put butter on our
we
meat.
grill it, but when we grill and stuff like that, I don't typically.
You don't
put,
come in and put butter on it. Well,
No.
we need to start doing that.
We start picking up our fat game.
Yeah. So tonight we're having our cauliflower mac and cheese, which we
Big
have
win.
at least once a week. You guys already have the recipe because I talk about it all the time. And some salmon.
Salmon,
Get our omegas in check.
omega-3s in the house. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay, so we're shooting for fat adaptation. You're gonna go through a period where things really stink. What is that they say in the military? Embrace the suck. Like
I've never heard that term and I don't like it.
it's true. Like it bases it deal with what's very difficult because eventually you're gonna come out on top through it. That's
Okay.
kind of the idea.
I mean, I guess I like it. I hate that word,
You
though.
like the concept.
I don't
know
like
you.
that
I know
word.
you don't like that word. I don't like it either. But that's the statement. That's what they call it. So when you're in the middle of that, your body's switching over the keto flu.
Push harder. When
Push.
you are in that keto flu stage, the worst thing you can do is feed
Just
yourself
give up.
carbs,
Yeah.
because you're either going to just say this doesn't work for me and forget about it, or you're going to always be in that state where your body's in that
Yo-yo.
transition. So
Whoa,
you
whoa,
need
whoa,
to
whoa.
decide, do I want to do this? Don't I want to do this? If it's not for you, that's fine. I do not think it's for everybody. It works very well for us, and I'm very happy that we're
And we've
doing
seen
it.
a lot of people with different success stories, but it's like one of those, you can't just get in and get out. Like if you're gonna do this, make a big commitment to it. Like
Yeah.
go, you know, I don't. It's 30 days, 6 weeks. Like give it a real college try. You know what I mean? Like give it
College
the old,
try.
gusto.
Yeah. So my advice starting out, I guess, would be cut carbs as low as you possibly can. Use something to track your food. I, of course, like Carb Manager. You guys already know that. Tracking food will keep you on track. That's why we call it tracking food.
I
Go
love the
ahead.
simplicity of that.
Yeah. Go ahead and follow the macros to the T in the beginning. Make sure you're getting, a good amount of fat, because you don't want to have those nasty cravings. You don't want to go through the keto flu. I would say don't take ketones, or take them, but know why you're taking them. So if you're taking them merely to make your little pea stick look like you're in ketosis, I would say throw out the pea sticks and throw out the ketones. But if you want to like toy around with it to see if it gives you a little like maybe better mental clarity in the morning, a little more
Boost,
pep
right?
in your
You're
step.
able to finish the crossword puzzle a little bit faster.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, there's something to be said for ketones and brain function. So for sure, if that's why you're taking it, great. But if you're taking it for weight loss, I don't really see the benefit, because your body has to use the ketones before it can tap into your stored body fat. That's why I
So
think,
don't.
yeah.
They can get in the way of ultimately what you're trying to do.
Yes.
They can.
Yes. So your body has something called oxidative priority, where it has to follow the rules. So it can't burn this until it burns that, you know what I mean? There's a system.
So ketones are probably more for those more advanced, like we're down the road, we're in keto, we're in the keto world. Let's see what the ketones can add to it. It's not a beginner product, right?
It depends. It can put you over the edge, especially if you're feeling miserable and you want your body to start burning ketones rather than carbs.
So you give your body a little sample and like, oh, I like this. Where can I find more of
If
those?
you want
Oh,
to
they're
try
right
it to
here.
kind of get over the hump from burning carbs to burning fat, go for it. If you want it to give you extra energy at the gym, go for it. But if you are constantly feeding your body ketones thinking this is going to help me lose weight, I don't think that's the case.
Wrong process.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, cut your carbs, go ahead and have the fat, get yourself into a state where you're feeling good, you're probably in ketosis, and then slowly start to back off a little bit of the fat. It's still a high fat diet. I mean, we eat a lot of fat, but
Yep.
we don't make fat bombs ever anymore.
No.
Although Slim Fast makes these fat bombs that we do occasionally get, they're okay ingredient wise. I mean, they're certainly not healthy, but if you're those peanut butter cup,
Oh.
they're fat bombs.
Okay.
Yeah, so
See,
they have peanut butter cup ones and they have caramel cup ones.
what?
Yes, you had it, and you said you
Oh,
liked
yeah.
the caramel better, and I like the peanut butter better.
Right. That's right. So that's why we don't
So
have
every
caramel
once in
the
a
house.
while,
We just
like
have the peanut butter ones in the
after,
house.
no, we have the caramel ones. I don't touch them; they're upstairs.
I know where I'm going after this.
So yeah, that's kind of like after dinner. We might want just something sweet. We'll probably go for those, but I don't make fat bombs anymore. It's not really a thing, and we don't eat them every day. They just are up in the cabinet if we're like, I'm kind of got a sweet tooth tonight. Like, let me have a little something. That would be what we go for.
Yep.
Yeah, or maybe
Thank
some
you,
blueberries.
Weight Watchers.
Weight loss. Oh
Is that
no,
who
that's
makes it? Slim Fast.
Slim Fast
Slim
makes it.
Fast.
Yeah. Now, Slim Fast keto products in general, I do not advocate for. The ingredients are pretty not keto.
It's amazing how
Yeah.
many different companies and brands have started to
So
grab
many
the
things
keto
say
label.
keto and big bold print across it, and I read the ingredients and I'm like, there's nothing
they-
keto about
They
this.
don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so just be very careful. Just because it says keto does not mean you should be consuming it. But those fat bombs are not, in my opinion, they're not terrible. I mean, if you're going to have just one every once in a while,
You can only have one. Like I have a steadfast rule that I had two at one time, and the second one was not that great.
it wasn't as
So,
delicious just
like,
because.
I tell you all the time, it's a one and done. Get
They
the
are
one.
delicious,
One is
though.
delicious. You can't have
Yeah.
two. The second one's not as delicious.
So yeah,
There we go. Fat Adaptation.
Yeah.
Total ketosis, taking care of ketones.
Yeah, they're kind of similar, but they're not the same.
Right, but it's a goal, something to try to get to. It's manipulating your body again, really is what it is. It's trying to...
It's a biohack.
Right, yeah. That's
I love that word.
Science. All that wonderful, fun stuff. Okay, so I think that's enough, right?
I think so.
That's a lot of information. We're getting back to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know if it's a lot of information, but I think it's an interesting point.
Something
I think
to head
that
down the road.
If you're online constantly searching ketosis, keto diet, stuff like that, you're going to start seeing fat adaptation come up. That's going to become a thing. I think that's going to start becoming like, are you doing the fat adaptation? You're
keto?
Yeah.
Fat adapt.
But I don't know. I thought carnivore is a huge thing, and we were told it's not. So I don't know.
We don't know. All right. I think that's enough for us.
All right. Sounds good.
Like, share, review. We appreciate it. And go fat.